By Telkom Enterprise. Accelerate your business growth with reliable high-speed connectivity solutions from Telkom Enterprise.
And welcome back to Jeff Koinange live at Citizen Television. Let's get right to it. Constitutional lawyer, political analyst, Dr. PLO Lumumba, also political analyst, journalist, publisher, Barrack Muluka, both in the house. I call them the best political tag team on TV, bar none. You'll see why in a few. Twitter handles, at it's PLO Lumumba, at Barrack M, at Koinange Jeff, of course, at Citizen TV Kenya. Hashtag JKLive. Let's get underway, gentlemen. Good to see you. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Karibuni sana.
Asante.
Let's get right to it. Let's start with the NASA lineup. There were 4, then they became a pentagon of 5. Dr. PLO, your thoughts? Has this changed anything now that Isaac Ruto has joined and has become a pentagon?
First of all, let it be understood that it was always obvious that Mr. Odinga would be the candidate, despite the shenanigans. Speaking fundamentally, these are old faces. We have seen Mr. Odinga as the Prime Minister. We have seen Musalia Mudavadi as a minister in Moi's government and as Vice President. We have seen Kalonzo Musyoka as Vice President. We have seen Isaac Ruto as one of the acolytes of President Moi. But the fact that they have come together now, I would say that the National Alliance is a product of the resentment that a critical majority of Kenyans have for the regime and the manner in which it has administered. There has been exclusion of a critical mass of the peoples of Kenya. And while I would have preferred that we have new faces, new dispensation, a change of regime rather than a change of guard, there is a sense in which there's going to be real competition this time round.
Yeah, it's not going to be a walk in the park.
Let me leave it there for the moment. I'll come back to it once Barrack has weighed in.
Sure, Barrack, weigh in. It's not going to be a walk in the park.
I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. And personally, although I told you that my own choice is still in gestation, that will remain so for the time being.
For the next 89 days?
About 70 or so days.
Yeah.
Then I'll make up my mind one way or the other, remembering, of course, that we have got another 17 or so candidates who are also on offer, and I don't think that we should ignore them. But personally, I have no problem with old faces, whether the old faces be in Jubilee or they be in NASA. We know that Abe Lincoln was an old face for a very long time, and when he eventually romped home, he's captured in the annals of history as one of the greatest leaders, not just of the United States of America, but in world history, perhaps rivaled only by Pericles of Greece in the golden age of Greek democracy. So what really remains is for the numbers that normally decide one way or the other, and of course, for the two camps to mobilize. Nobody should take anything for granted. But I'll leave it there for now, in spite of my own other misgivings about our brand of democracy.
Indeed. PLO, former Prime Minister, is this his last hurrah? Is this his last jab at the presidency?
I do not claim to speak for the former Prime Minister, but there is a sense in which this must necessarily be his last hurrah. And I believe that he is on record as saying this is the last time that I'm going to do it, and I'll hand over the baton in the event that I win the presidency. There is a sense in which he has consistently sought the high office since the year 1997, and he has said that he has an agenda for this country, and that this time round the mistakes that he may have made in the year 2013, because he and his comrades believe that they actually won the elections in 2007, and there may be merit in that assertion. This is his last hurrah. And that is why I think he must have gone to Israel to have divine inspiration so that there could be divine intervention in this agenda this time round.
We saw him at the Wailing Wall.
It was not lost on me that he was at the Wailing Wall.
Yes.
And I suspect that he may very well go to Sinai, that he may behold the promised land in the manner that Joshua did. Say that tongue in cheek.
Tongue in cheek, indeed. Barrack, NASA talks about getting 10 million votes for the presidency. 10 million. Is that even possible? When you see the mathematics.
When you look at it from the point of view that there are 19 million registered voters, at least from what the IBC is telling us. We are still waiting for KPMG to come up with the audited register. And assuming that people are adequately sensitized to turn out and vote, then either side should be able to gravitate anywhere near 10 million votes. Of course, we are assuming 100% voter turnout. And we have seen that in this country we are able of not just having 100%, but sometimes we have 110% voter turnout.
Yeah,
But
yes, in Tarakaniti.
Tarakaniti, yes.
And in Teso North and Teso South.
Right. But, PLO, because the primaries were by and large shambolic, and there were lots of people who were beaten by the wayside, lots of disappointments, is there a likelihood that there will be voter apathy?
I don't think so. There is a sense in which, while I agree with Barrack Muluka that there are other 14 odd contestants, and I think that that is a good thing for this country, but there is a sense in which the two major formations that we have are going to be the real contestants in this regard. And it is already quite evident that those in the NASA formation are trying to mobilize their base constituency across the country, and Jubilee will do the same thing. Remember also that the individuals who might have been rigged or lost the election during the primaries have come out as independents.
They ought to come together. They ought to come together and even come up with a new formation.
That is another prescription.
A new formation of their own.
But the voter apathy will not be there because these individuals will be on the ballot and their supporters will have the opportunity to vote. And remember that when they are voting for them as governors or MPs or MCAs, they will also vote for the presidency. So I think that this time round, the country is so mobilized, so charged, that we will have the highest genuine voter turnout that this country has ever known. That is my prescription, and that is my desire, and I think that I can see with the accuracy of a Jewish prophet. And it's not lost on me that the Prime Minister is in the land of the Jews.
At the Wailing Wall.
At the Wailing Wall.
Yeah. Barrack, could Kenya be looking at its first president who was a one-term president?
It is possible. Very, very possible. Because, you know, the times have changed. When you look at this time round, you're talking about a president, a candidate rather, who has had the opportunity to be tested. And in the view of many, he's been found wanting. We have seen the problem with the doctors. We have seen the problems with the teachers. We are seeing problems with food. We are seeing a myriad of other problems. And we are talking about an underperforming government in an increasingly expanding democratic dispensation. And, you know, this is not like in school where you say that because you have failed or you have not done very well, we allow you to repeat. In fact, in certain schools, when you have not done very well, they discontinue you. So we are looking at a situation where very, very likely here is a government that is staring at defeat. And for me, it's not even these things which the president keeps on talking about. Some of them quite imaginary, of course. Like when you say we have built 10,000 kilometers of tarmac roads. I've recently done a checkup just to make sure that I really know what I'm talking about. And I saw that if you are to travel by road from Mombasa through Nairobi all the way to Uganda to the Atlantic coast in Matadi, it would be 4,017 kilometers. So that means you are talking about a road from Mombasa to the Atlantic coast and back to Mombasa, and you still have a balance. Now, you know that kind of thing does not help. And you get to a situation where you are talking about these grandiose things which have not happened, and you're also talking about citizens who are hungry, and you're staring at defeat.
Yeah. PLO?
Let me just say, ask the fundamental and basic question. Why are governments instituted amongst men? That they may serve. On what promise did the current administration seek Kenyans' votes? On the promise that we would create jobs. We are losing jobs on a daily basis. On the promise that the prices of food would go down, they have gone up. On the promise that doctors would be paid, they have not been paid. On the promise that teachers would be paid. On the promise that there would be inclusivity, that has not happened. On the promise that the government would be lean and that there would be expenditure. On the promise that corruption would be fought. So that on the basis of the scorecard and performance, if one were to be objective, if one were to liberate oneself from very base ethnic considerations, this is a government that should be very worried. It is a government that should be very worried. And to respond to your question, is there a danger that this administration could only serve this term? There is that very grave danger. If I was in government, I would be very worried.
But at the same time, PLO, they had so much goodwill in the beginning.
Without doubt. And if you allow me latitude, and you must. 2 years ago, Barrack and I, bitten by the pangs of patriotism, addressed the President of the Republic of Kenya and said, the President, we think you have a good thing that is likely to go on. But these are the areas that we think you should address. Address corruption, address insecurity, address inclusivity. Of course, we did not receive a response from His Excellency the President, but there is a sense in which if one were to assess the situation objectively, things have gone down south. And no amount of massaging this through the razzmatazz that we see in the government portals will make some of us who are objective say that a good job has been done. In fact, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say the performance is anything between 3 and 4, and that is not good.
And Barrack, corruption, has that been the Achilles heel? The fact that everyone addresses it, but nothing is done about it?
See, corruption within this regime particularly has been completely undisguised. It's as if one of the rewards of going into government is corruption. It's as if people have been selected to go into government because they can help to get resources out of the public coffers. And there has been a sense in which the whole thing has been prosecuted with impunity. That whenever you have heard names coming up, there's been defense, very defiant and arrogant defense by people who should be saying, wait a minute, because they told us that that was one of their foremost agenda. You have seen the deputy president coming out and saying this is about undermining the government. You have seen the leader of the majority in the National Assembly doing the same. You have seen senators who have come out and at some point we had what we were told was called the Sky Team, and it seemed to have been the defender. I don't know where Senator Kithure Kindiki eventually vaporized into, but he was there as part of the mouthpiece. Yeah. And we have seen very lately even that some of the people whose records are very solid seem to be being rewarded with opportunities to sanitize the monies that they have gotten out of the public coffers. And I agree with the PLO here that if we were to free ourselves of the devilish fetters of ethnicity and looked at these things objectively, if we were to love ourselves a little more than we hate those who don't belong to the community. We would say this is a government that should have gone home. We would be saying that President Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto should in fact do the honorable thing and not ask for a re-election, because you are asking to be re-elected to do what?
Strong words, tough words. At the end of the day, PLO, what went wrong?
I do not know what went wrong. And I remember, Jeff, saying times without number in this very forum that I want to be charitable to President Kenyatta, and that I want to give him the benefit of doubt in the things that he promised. And there is a sense in which on the issue of corruption he started very well. You remember when he received the report from the EACC and members of his cabinet left. I remember when he energetically started talking about infrastructure and doing many things. Then there is a sense in which there was a dislocation. And then what happened is that in the constitution of cabinet, I think that is what went wrong. I would have assumed that this is a young Kenyan with vision, without many fetters, that first of all you constitute a government where everybody thinks we are part of this government. That did not happen. A government that demonstrates by what it did that we are going to deal with corruption, and that is done in a sustainable manner. A government that is able to address the issues of the teachers, the issues of the doctors, and then something just went awry, and we have never recovered. So that no amount of defense now makes sense. In fact, I look for things on which I can defend this administration. And let me tell you, Jeff, I've looked, even as you asked me to come here, what will I say in favor of this administration? Perhaps the mere fact that Kenya is still a going concern, that is the only reason that I can say that the government is still there. We still pay our salaries, but the hopelessness that I see in young men and women across the country, the loss of jobs on a daily basis, supermarkets closing down, factories closing down, donors and partners saying that we can no longer be trusted with funds that they give to us. These are things that concern us, not because we do not like this government, not because we think that the alternative is going to offer us manna, but we are simply saying that Kenyans should consider very seriously to give the opportunity to another set of individuals to see how they can perform. This is what people are saying. And I'm not going to say who I'm going to vote. Remember that there are almost 17 presidential candidates, including my friend Uhuru Aukot.
There you go. Speaking of which, we have a soundbite here by the Media Owners Association. They announced the presidential debates. Chairman of the MOA, Wachira Waruru, my boss, made the announcement. Monica, can we go to that? Just take a listen.
The first presidential debate will be held on Monday, the 10th of July at 7:30 p.m. The second debate will involve running mates of the presidential candidates. That is, candidates for the office of Deputy President. This debate shall be held on Monday, the 17th of July at 7:30 p.m. The third debate will be the second and final presidential debate and shall take place on Monday, the 24th of July, also at 7:30 p.m.
Okay, so 2 presidential debates, 1 deputy president debate. July 10th, the first one. The question is, with 18 candidates, are you going to have 18 podiums? Dr. Ari?
No, I think it can be done. The first thing that I want to say that I think that having those independent candidates is a good thing. As a friend of mine has said, it is demystifying the presidency and allowing people to bring issues on the table. But in my view, in order to give meaning to the debate, I think there should be some reasonably choreographed opinion polling. And it's then agreed that the top 4 who emerge out of that opinion polling, and Barrack will give his own prescription, so that we have a meaningful debate of not more than 4 individuals who will then articulate the issues with the depth that is desirable so that it informs the public. And I hope that those individuals will also be interrogated in Kiswahili, so that one of the debates should be conducted in the Kiswahili language so that the majority of Kenyans can understand what it is that they are saying. It should not be the confine of you and me who can understand the English language. It can be broken down into Kiswahili, and we hear them articulate the issues in a manner that Wanjiku can consume.
Great point, Dr. Ari, great point. Barrack?
Yes, I think there's need to sieve, but I don't like the notion of choreography, which seems to suggest that the whole thing is pre-decided and
perhaps I was misunderstood.
premeditated. The choreography,
Not to mean rigging.
bit of
Check choreography. The second meaning simply mean properly organized.
All right, okay, thank you.
it could also mean manipulated and completely stage managed,
right.
So that you only have certain. And we have seen that even the shambles that we have called the primaries, in certain instances, they were choreographed.
Indeed.
Yeah, so that kind of sieving would be very good. But these independent candidates, if they are also to be taken seriously, they ought now that they know one another, who is also offering themselves, maybe to consider coming together and also nominating just one of them and saying, okay, we step down.
One of the independents or
one of the independents, yes. With maybe another one as a possible running mate.
Right.
They're going to play a very critical role. They'll give us an opportunity, possibly, to deny either of the so-called giants from getting a straight 50% plus one. And just in the event that we have not quite made up our mind properly, we would have another opportunity.
Real quick
and,
before,
and I know they don't like that, but I think that is a good thing.
Real quick before we go to commercial break, Dr. Ari, Cyrus Jirango, where did he come from?
Cyrus has the democratic right to behave in the manner in which he is. But there is a sense in which he's a Johnny come lately into the arena. But even Johnny come latelys ought to have their day at the dinner table. They can't be as diners or as waiters. The choice is for him to make. But I think he has come rather late. He'll be a waiter rather than a diner. And he's still my friend, Cyrus Jirango.
Barrack, Joe Nyaga. Joe Nyaga.
Well, Joe Nyaga has always nursed presidential ambitions. We remember in 2007 that he got to the wire with regard to the ODM primaries. He jumped ship at some point between 2008 and 2013. He went into hibernation, and it would be interesting to see what he's bringing this time round.
But it's also to increase one's value in the political mortgage market. Sometimes that is why people say they want to be president. Some they want to be more valuable in the mortgage market, so that at the opportune time it may be remembered that I was a presidential candidate.
It's also good. It's also good to run. In all races, all rallies, you have seen some people who come there just for the benefit of being on the record as also having participated.
So what is that? Something you put on your CV? I ran for president?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we saw that last time the sitting president was tempted to reward some of the people who ran against him. And perhaps, as he says, that elevates your political premium.
All right. Gentlemen, we're going to take a break, come back, and now go over to the counties. There's some hotly contested counties and some former governors who are going independent. They're still at it. We'll talk about Kiambu, Kabogo trounced. Nairobi, who's going to take it? Will it be Kidero or the new and refined transformed Sonko?
I saw him.
Or PK.
I saw him last week.
You saw him. Makeover is the word.
Right.
Yeah. Let's talk about Ranguma and Anyanyong, Ojamong and Otwoma, Oparanya, and the bullfighter. Oh my.
Indeed.
You're watching the best political tag team on TV, no doubt. And we're talking issues. 89 days to go to the general election. Who are you going to vote for? Is that what we're asking? Who are you going to vote for president? Plenty more to talk about. We're going deep into the counties next, the battleground states, you name it. You can only get that kind of stuff right here. Jeff Koinange live on Citizen Television. Take a break, come back in a moment.
You're watching JKL, brought to you by Telkom Enterprise. Accelerate your business growth with reliable high-speed connectivity solutions from Telkom Enterprise.